We're going to have Emani Lawrence. She's 15 years old, and she's going to talk about the loss of her grandmother. And sorry, I'm getting emotional, but this is my daughter, so thank you.
Just as many of you probably feel about your own, my grandmother was one of my favorite people in the world. Her name was Linda Doyle, and she was 61 years old. She never would have known it, though, because she was so young at heart. She was one of the strongest, liveliest, loving, and devoted people I ever knew. She loved her family more than anything in the world and made sure you knew it every moment of every day. Her love and kindness knew no boundaries, and anyone who ever met her was truly a better person because of it. She was a wife, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, a friend, and gave her time voluntarily to most of her loved charitable organizations, including her favorite project, being one of the most dedicated volunteers for the Central Oklahoma Humane Society's cats. My grandmother never missed a day of feeding, rescuing, and caring for the hundreds of cats that lived in the Oklahoma City area. Nothing kept her from the beloved kitties who had no one else to care for them, not snow, rain, sleet, or cold. She was there 365 days a year. I remember every time I visited, we had to go feed the kitties, even on holidays. We all went as a family to feed them together, especially on Christmas because it was Christmas for those kitties too, and she had to take them their canned cat food from Santa. But that was just how committed my grandma was to those she cared about. We always called her the crazy cat lady. My grandma was a single mom for most of her time. She raised my mom and her sister. She worked full-time but was still more involved with her activities than most parents were. She even set the record for being the longest-running PTA president and popcorn lady. My grandma didn't eventually get remarried. She did eventually get remarried. I was 4 years old then, and I got to be the flower girl. Grandma was always doing something, and she had a lot of hobbies, and she even built her very own koi ponds and made her backyard the beautiful oasis she had always wanted. I even spent a week with her back when I was 6 and built one of those ponds together. It was a day I will never forget as we both put on gloves and rain boots and clothes we could get dirty in. It was so funny when I had to dig so deep that I got stuck in the mud and Grandma had to try to pull me out. I don't think we had ever laughed so hard. My grandma's house was the best place to be. It had the smell of Grandma's house. You knew when we were there you were going to be taken care of and have lots of fun. She collected antique clocks, so all you could hear when you were there was the sound of all those. I loved hearing all the ticking and talking. Grandma's house was home to us. July 24, 2008 was the last day I saw my grandma. It was my 13th birthday. Every year we go and visit her for a week in July because our birthdays were all together. Even my little sister's was born in July. She was only 1 then. So we went for a week, and I went to volleyball camp at OU like I did every year, and she would come watch me every day and cheer me on. She actually became a fan of volleyball when she never really got into sports too much. So after camp was over, it was my birthday. We ate, we shopped, and had our own birthday celebration. It was another great birthday that Grandma and I went to. I expected to see her again in just a couple of months, but that day never came. Instead, on September 3rd, 2008, I found out that she had died in a car crash. I was never going to see her again. My grandma had received a phone call from a man who had cat food he was donating for the cats at 4:38 p.m. Of course, she always thought she could do it all, and since she had some extra time before her husband would be home, she was just going to pick it up and get back home for dinner because, of course, it was her kitties. She hung up the phone, went straight to her car, and left the house. At 4:43 p.m., the stoplight at the entrance to her neighborhood turned green, and she began to go through the intersection. At the same time, a 20-year-old man was getting into his car at the Goodwill store on his way home. He picked up his phone to call his neighbor to tell them about a dresser he had found for them at the store. He pulled out of the parking lot onto the road while having this conversation. Less than a quarter of a mile from this point, the truck the man was driving ran that same red light and hit my grandma's car, T-boned it at about 45 to 50 miles per hour. He hit her so hard, her car spun around and got hit by another vehicle who was just sitting at the red light, also on the other side of the intersection. They say all you could hear then was my grandma's horn going off. The driver of the truck got out and admitted he was on a cell phone and never saw the light or my grandma's car right in front of him. The newspaper stated he was engrossed in a cellular telephone conversation at the time of the crash. There were no skid marks, and witnesses stated he never even tried to stop. There were also no other reasons for the crash: no alcohol, no drugs. He wasn't speeding, and it was a clear day. It was because he was talking on the phone while he was driving. The man driving the car, Christopher, said she was gone right then. At least she didn't suffer. My grandma was finally pronounced dead at 7:05 p.m. The medical examiner listed the cause of death as blunt force trauma to the head, neck, and chest. My mom calls it death by cell phone. She never knew any of this was happening until about 6:30 when my aunt called and told my mom the police had just came to her house and said my grandma had been in a crash and she needed to go to the hospital. I was hanging out on my couch eating cereal and watching TV when my mom got the call. So my mom started calling the hospital, and her sister went there to see if she was okay. My mom sat on hold for what seemed like forever. First they said she wasn't there, then more holding. We would call my aunt's phone to see what was happening, but there was no signal in the hospital, so all we could hear was hello, and the phone would hang up. I just knew everything had to be okay. It couldn't be anything worse. She was my grandma. I thought she would always be there. My granddad had come over when he heard something was wrong. He just kept telling us everything would be okay. Finally, at 8 p.m., a doctor called my mom back. Her face just went blank. I knew it wasn't good. When my mom got off the phone, she said they just pronounced her dead. And she just fell to the floor. I felt like my heart had been ripped out. I couldn't believe it. We cried all night, woke up the next morning to go to her house and start planning the funeral. We lived almost 3 hours away from her, so we had to wait for the morning to make the drive. This time there was no excitement on the drive to Grandma's. There weren't going to be any fun things to do and things to laugh about. No, Grandma would welcome me to the door with a big hug and kiss. Getting to Grandma's, I didn't know how to feel. She was really gone. No more Grandma to take care of all of us. How were we going to make it without her? I hoped I was just having a really bad dream, but it wasn't. My mom and I had to go to get the rest of my grandma's stuff from her car at the wrecking service because no one else could. My mom let me decide if I wanted to go, if I thought I needed to see her car. I did. My mom went and checked it out first and then let me go look. I couldn't believe how crushed the seat was my grandma was strapped in. The seat had been twisted and smashed. Also, the side of the door had actually came apart and been pushed into the side of her head. It was so unnecessary for my grandma to have been killed so violently. She was such a beautiful person. We really don't have many people in our family to begin with. It was really just us, my mom, my aunt, my grandma, and my sister. And my grandma was our fearless leader. My sister was only one when this happened. I felt so sorry for her that she will never get to know my grandma that I knew. To play games with her and to be spoiled by her, to watch and laugh as she would yell at my mom as she tried to tell us no. My sister only gets to see the pictures and hear the stories. That is so unfair to her. Grandma will never get to see how good I have gotten at volleyball, and she will never see me graduate. She won't be there when I get married. My kids won't get to meet their amazing great-grandma, all because someone was talking on the phone while they were driving. Everything changed that day. My life will never be the same. When we lost her, we lost our home at Grandma's house. It is now for sale and empty. The ponds are all gone, even the one I built with my grandma, because no one is there to take care of them. We no longer have the holidays I used to love so much because Grandma was a holiday. We don't have the tradition of reading the 12 Days of Cat Christmas because we would laugh so hard as we read it that we would cry. No more making cookies for Santa together. No more going to look at Christmas lights. No more of those amazingly unique gifts that she would find for us. It just isn't the same without her. All we do is wish she was there on those days even more. Even my birthday has changed forever because it was always the day I remember as the last time I saw my grandma. The only thing we have gained is a new date on our calendar, September 3rd, the day my grandma died. The day I wish never happened so I could just have her back. That phone call could have not been more important than my grandma's life. And not only her life and my family's lives were affected by this crash, but also the driver, Christopher, and his family. They now have to live with the fact that his poor decision to talk on the phone while driving resulted in my grandma's death, and he has to live with that every day. My grandma had at least 40 more years left in her, and she was only 61 and full of life. She had also so much more she wanted to do, and my sister and I had so much more we wanted to do with her. I never got a chance to show her how much I appreciated all she had done for me and to make her proud. I thought I had more time. Not a day goes by that I don't wish I could see her face, hear her voice, or just get a big hug from her. My favorite saying was live, love, laugh, and that is what I have to do for her. Live for the day, laugh often, and love much, because you never know what will happen. Please get off your phone when you drive, completely off of it. If I am a teenager and I know it better, then so can you. Nothing you are talking about or texting is more important than someone's life. It wasn't more important than my grandma's, but she wasn't given a choice in this. Someone else's choice took her life. Please make the right choice to put your phone down and just drive. It's not worth the price you may have to pay. I will never get to see her ever again.
And of course, I have to thank Emani. If it wasn't for her and her amazing strength and having to grow up so quick, I wouldn't be where I am today. I couldn't do anything that I do. I'm a single mom myself, and this little girl has made me who I am.